Fore, please.
Oh, what a shot. Oh, yes,
Fore,
for
please. Now driving.
The rain is gone and Augusta National Golf Club hosted a stunning sun-drenched Tuesday as players worked through practice rounds from just after dawn to just before dusk. Nary a cloud was seen as patrons cheered their favorite stars and enjoyed the very best of springtime in Augusta. Hello everyone, welcome to Fore Please Now Driving, the official Masters podcast. I'm your host, Marty Smith. Today we welcome the voice of golf on ESPN, Scott Van Pelt, to the program to share his deep adoration and reverence for the Masters and its unique ability to ground us in presence and in humility. Also joining us today is Neil Schuster from the immensely popular No Laying Up podcast to break down what to expect in the 89th Masters Tournament. Let's get started today with two-time and defending Masters champion Scottie Scheffler, who on Tuesday evening hosted his second Champions Dinner with menu items that included cheeseburger sliders, firecracker shrimp, ravioli bites, Texas chili, wood-fired cowboy ribeye, and blackened redfish. And to top it all for dessert, my man, a warm skillet chocolate chip cookie with vanilla bean ice cream. Before dinner, Scheffler addressed the media assembled here in Augusta and was quite direct about how last year's victory impacts this year's effort.
I mean, at the end of the day, when I get up on Thursday, I start the tournament even par just like everybody else. Last year doesn't have a lot to do with this year. Outside of I can go back on some of the experience that I've had playing well on this golf course and reflect on that. Let's say I got off to a bad start on Thursday, and I can use some stuff that I've done here in the past few years as confidence to kind of turn things around. But at the end of the day, when I step up there on Thursday, we're at even par, and it's a totally new golf tournament. Last year means nothing.
Before we spend time with SVP, let's run down some notable groupings and tee times when tournament play begins Thursday. Of course, tournament festivities begin with ceremonial tee shots hit by six-time Masters champion Jack Nicklaus, three-time Masters champion Gary Player, and two-time Masters champion Tom Watson, who will join us on Fore Please Now Driving later in the week. Thursday featured groups include, at 9:47 a.m., Colin Morikawa, Joaquin Niemann, and recent Houston Open winner Minwoo Lee. At 10:15 a.m., two-time Masters champion Scottie Scheffler, two-time major champion Justin Thomas, and Jose Luis Ballester. At 1:12 p.m., Rory McIlroy will begin the quest once again to earn the career Grand Slam, alongside Ludwig Oberg, who finished second in the 2024 Masters, and one of the young stars of the game, Akshay Bhatia. And at 1:34 p.m., 2023 Masters champion Jon Rahm, 2023 U.S. Open champion Wyndham Clark, and Tommy Fleetwood. Other notables are at 8:35 a.m. Bernhard Langer, with whom we had a wonderful chat Monday ahead of his 41st and final Masters tournament, along with Will Zalatoris and amateur Noah Kent. At 9:58 a.m., U.S. Ryder Cup captain and 2011 PGA champion Keegan Bradley, with three-time Masters champion Phil Mickelson and Jason Day. And finally, at 10:26, 2015 Masters champion Jordan Spieth, Tom Kim, and Terrell Hatton. Scott Van Pelt has made the annual pilgrimage to Augusta, Georgia for the vast majority of his adult life, and the grounds and the people never cease to amaze him, to humble him, to envelop him in the mystique of the Masters. Sometimes, even for those of us who have the honor of trying to articulate things, for those who can't, it is impossible. It's always such an honor for me to get to sit with the great Scott Van Pelt, not just the voice of golf at ESPN, but in my estimation, the voice of ESPN.
That's too kind, man. I appreciate you.
But it's true. Your wonderful, measured approach, coupled with a beautiful passion for what we have the blessing to do,
Yeah, man.
is a rare gift. and you're
Thank you.
just the best to ever do it. And I love you, and I'm grateful for you.
Well, that's kind, and I feel the same, and it's a treat to be sitting in this particular spot at this particular moment.
And for you, this spot, we're on 8T at the par 3 course. What makes this spot so special for you?
See, I know this guy, and I know that you're going to ask me a question in a way that gives me an opportunity to answer it, and I thought about that, and how do I articulate that? And it's really hard. I would say simply, look. That's the easy
Incredible.
part. But there's a magic at this place, and a singular ability to get you in this world of everything's going, and we're not present, and we're looking and scrolling and on to the next. There's a gift here in general, but in this spot for me specifically, where I just stop. And there's a rapper named Common and has a song, and he says, "The present is a gift, and I just want to be." And when I stand in this particular spot, I feel very present, and I just want to be. And what do I want to be? I want to be here and just be grateful. And I spend time, sometimes it's very prayerful, and I just say, Lord, I'm grateful that I'm here right now. I'm grateful for all the steps it took me to get here, stumbles and whatever else, but I'm here right now. And I think if I get to come back and do it again tomorrow, I'll be grateful again. And if I don't, for whatever reason, I'm grateful for this right here, right now. I'm not looking towards anything else. I'm sitting here right here with you right now. And there aren't many other places that I know in this world where I feel that way, where I feel like I just stop and my soul is still. And I don't know if that sounds, I don't care what it sounds like, because it's the truth. It's my truth of what this place is. And sometimes I look up at the trees, and sometimes I think about people who've left me that aren't here to see it. And other times I think about my little kids, you know, and the journey that they're on, and how grateful I am that I'm their papa. And then I think I get to walk up the hill to the Butler cabin and sit there, and do you have to go to the Masters, Daddy? No, I get to. We've talked about this. So this is a long answer about why this means this to me, but this place just puts me in touch with feelings of gratitude that not many other places, if any, in the whole wide world make me feel.
You and I have had so many wonderful conversations about our father's influences in our lives, and how we're doing our very best every day to be great fathers and great husbands and great friends and great stewards, not just of the people that we represent in our professions, but also the people we represent that came before us. And as you're having that moment thinking about your dad while you're standing here each year, what do you think he's saying back?
Whew. He called me Buzz. I'd like to hope he'd say, Buzz, I'm proud of you. You know, I've said this line before, and I've heard it often, that a young man that loses his father early in his life spends the rest of his life trying to make him proud. And I would think at this point, I'd hope as a husband and father, first and foremost, but my dad and I bonded over sports. And Dad had a red bucket hat. It was a Maryland bucket hat that he wore, and when I pitched, I'd look up and I'd find him, and there was that hat. And when we played basketball, I'd look up in the bleachers, and there was that bucket hat, and I'd see it. And when we buried him, Dad worked for a living, so we buried him in a workman's clothing, and we put that bucket hat with him, so I could always know where to find him. And I think he'd be proud that I often recite the things that he told me that matter. Treat normal people like superstars, treat superstars like normal people. You do the same. I think it's why we get on with these people.
I agree.
It's why we get on with these athletes, because we meet them as men. No better, certainly no worse. But look them in the eye, treat them with respect, and expect the same thing in return, because we're no better nor no worse. And I know he'd get a kick out of the fact that when the Masters comes on TV, it's his son's voice that welcomes people in a way that I can't know for sure. Boy, I'd pay a big number to find out, man. I'd give every nickel and dollar I got if I could have 2 minutes like this. Just say, hey, let me get you caught up on what's going on. You know what I mean? But
I do.
I know, but we live that way. We live with the feeling and the hope that they're with us, and they are. And real and maybe imagined ways. But as long as we feel like they're with us, then they're with us.
It's so interesting you talking about that red bucket hat. There is no feeling for a young person, especially whether it's sports, whether they're in the school play, the recital, dance recital. There's this great video that's out there in the interweb somewhere of this sweet little girl who's about to do her little school play, and she's looking around and she's looking through the crowd, and when she sees her parents, it's just the most beautiful thing. And I remember that from my parents too, and seeing my dad, he never sat down, he always stood. Every second, every inning of every sporting event I ever played, I could find Dad because he never sat down.
Love it.
Isn't that interesting how there's a little bit of correlation too, that those places where we feel them more, it's kind of that same presence, like I know he's there.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of it like that, but that's well put. And I think it's the part about getting your soul and your mind quiet that maybe they're there in a lot more ways if you just stopped and asked yourself to look for them. Maybe you don't have to look that hard, but here I just feel like I don't have to work too hard at all. It's just it's just that feeling. And I've shared with others and perhaps with you that Thursday. You sit in the Butler cabin and you wait to come on the air, and at 3 o'clock we'll come on the air, and Stellar Shy, who's a great producer from CBS, will be in my ear, and this is inside TV, but you know what it is. You might rehearse what it is. Here's what we're going to do. We got a Scotty Scheffler shot or whatever, and you run through it, and then it gets quiet because everybody's doing what they're doing, and I look up and I know in that last 30 seconds, it's 29:30, 59:30. I beg your pardon. And maybe you get a count in your ear and maybe you don't. But if they're counting, I don't hear them anyway, because I'm just in that last little bit. It's like an inner monologue with my dad. Like, look at what I get to do, and just help me be calm, help me do my job well, help me speak clearly, say what it is I mean to say. And your boy Buzz is sitting here in the Butler cabin, and then on you come, and it's me that gets to speak, and it's like I'm speaking. The name on the back says Van Pelt, and I'm speaking for him, and for me, and that's the damnedest thing, Marty.
We talk often, brother, about the energy and the nerves that these greatest players in the world have on the first tee on Thursday every year, no matter how many times you've done it. There's still that unique nervous kind of energy. What do you have?
Absolute calm, because of what I'm describing.
Yeah.
Because, and again, this maybe just gets off on a spiritual thing, but I'm a spiritual person.
Same.
I have faith in God, and I feel like the Lord will make me calm and do, like, I'm not going to act crazy, and like I just feel complete calm, and I chalk that up to a lot of things, but certainly I think it's about tapping into what this is right now, and just that energy of just present and calm and grateful, and you just reflect that, and I had to learn not to try too hard to reflect that, right? Because there's an earnestness, because you want people to feel what you feel, and they don't have the benefit of this. But you realize you don't have to squeeze the tube so hard to get the earnestness out, because it can be too much. So I think if I was guilty of that, I hope I'm not anymore. That I'm just like, you feel what I'm trying to reflect to you right now. In that moment, but I don't feel nervous. I feel just like, holy smokes! Like, look at this, what I get to do. And you're like, I'm a knee tapper guy. Like I'm an energy. Like, I notice myself during Sports Center, I'll feel my knee going just because you're doing a 1-man hour-long show and it's a rocket ship. When I'm up there, it's totally different. And I don't know what I chalk that up to. Mostly that it's Jim Nance's show, and all I got to do is say hi. You know what I mean? I don't have a lot of heavy lifting to do that day. And once you ask Curtis a couple of questions and you hand off and watch the great Jim Nance work and that whole great CBS crew, and every now and then you forget, Marty. And years ago, I can remember getting a voice in my ear like, we're going down to the Butler cabin. I'm like, I'm not watching this thing. I'm doing this thing. I'm at work, man. I had to snap back into the fact that it was my turn to say something, hopefully coherent. But again, it's just it's just the joy of the place. It's so easy to reflect, you know. It's just you hold a mirror up to the universe this week, and that's what it is.
And you'll call golf on Wednesday at the par 3 for the first time. What do you most look forward to?
Having Max alongside. He and I have bonded over a lot of different things, but Max played a par 3 course in California called Chica, and I'm interested in him sharing like how Chica was helped him form a relationship with golf. My best friends and I play at this par 3 course down at the beach in Lewis, Delaware, called the Midway Par 3, and so somehow, tastefully, we're going to work in a Midway Par 3 reference at Augusta National in the Par 3 contest, which will tickle the folks in Lewis, Delaware, I promise you. But we're here for the Par 3 contest, and what it's become is this great love affair of kids and their folks, and the chance to go out and maybe win some crystal, make a hole-in-one. Some of the coolest things I've ever seen happened out here. I look forward to just seeing them happen, you know. Jack, years ago, Marty, Jack would always come out on Wednesday to our set, and it was like the State of the Union, and we'd talk about whatever, and we got to the end one year, and why I did this I have no earthly idea, because I know Jack. I wasn't needling him. I said, what do you got left in those old bones of yours? You got any magic left? He said, how about I make a hole-in-one? I said, why don't you go do that? You know, Jack Nicklaus had never made a hole-in-one at Augusta National, ever, not in a practice round, not in the par 3, not once. Then he went out in the par 3 that day, and you know what he did?
Dunked it.
Made a 1. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I'll be doggone. All I had to do is give Jack Nicklaus, the greatest there ever was here, the needle, and he went out and made a 1 just for fun. If I always see Jack and to tell him to go make me another 1 and maybe go out and do it after 2 o'clock Eastern when we're on the air. I look forward to capturing the essence and the energy of Wednesday. It's the most fun day of the week, in my opinion. There is this incredibly joyous feeling. People are having a great time with enjoying the company, enjoying this, and then we play for real on Thursday morning. We can get serious Thursday morning, but right now it's just a day to enjoy this place where they actually hit balls off this tee. We need to get out of the way by then, but just being able to help guide the folks at home through the day.
Let's get to the Thursday.
Let's get to it.
A lot of people coming in feel like it's going to be the Scotty Rory show. What do you anticipate?
I have said this several times now, and I'll say it again. I believe that there are times when it's a man's time. I believe it's Rory McIlroy's time. I believe it's a combination of the form that he arrives with, the preparation that he's put in. I've heard some details on that I'll wait till that story is shared before I share it, because it's not my story to tell. But I would say that my understanding of the prep is that it's thorough. So it's a combination of that, and a man only has so many opportunities to do it, and he knows that. And the tick of the clock in the ear gets louder every year that passes, and there's a pressure that I think you be human nature to exert it, even though you try to tell yourself not to. But I feel like it lines up for him in a way that would make a ton of sense, and it would be an amazingly popular win in the sport, and certainly here at Augusta National. So there's a laundry list of people that could do it, but I believe in a time for a man's time, and it feels like it's his.
I completely agree, and it was so interesting to sit down with him and have a discussion about, for 10 years now, we've been waiting on the Career Slam.
Yep.
We've been waiting on you to put the green jacket on. It almost feels like a when, not if. How dreadful is it for you that you get asked this every year? And he said, there's only one man that can fix it, and that's me. And I've never felt like I was a more complete player than I am right now. And honestly, I too believe, and we broach this topic, you guys can see this on SportsCenter as the week progresses. He is in a place now where he feels so whole as a man. He's not carrying the tour on his back anymore, fighting live golf every single day.
Right.
His home life is in a wonderful place, and there's so much freedom that comes with that. And those are his words.
Okay.
There's so much freedom that comes with all of that. And I truly believe, I'm with you, he is my choice.
Is that right?
Yes. And I think that it just comes with the ability to really just be present.
Present is a gift, and I just want to be. The key for him, and this is just the X's and O's part, he just has to play better on Thursday.
Yep.
Put yourself in a position where you're not chasing, because the issue here is not the number of between you and the lead as much as it is the number of people, all of whom are capable, right? You put yourself behind too many Xanders and Scotties and Rahms and DeChambos and on, like, you might only be 3 back, but if there's 4 or 5 of those guys between you and them, somebody else is going to play good too. So I think for him, and I think he understands this, that it's a 4-act play. You just can't be a bit player on the first day. You need to be more of a starring role starting Thursday. So I would think that's a big part of it. And the thing about him coming here is that Jordan, when we go to Quail Hollow, will be asked about the PGA Slam.
Correct.
But then next year is what, Aronimink, I think? I don't remember. But wherever the heck we go, he'll get asked there. And it's not the same as coming here. And you have all of these years of pages, and you turn pages, and it's like, ooh, this was pretty close. This wasn't very good. I played great Sunday, but I wasn't really in it. But then I held that bunker shot. That was fun. But, too many years and too many chapters pile up, and then you realize, like, suddenly, quote more musicians, Aerosmith, every time that I look in the mirror, all these lines in my face getting clear. The past is gone. You become an older guy. There's a gray on those temples, and looking at him today, but he looks like a man that's content, and he looks like a man that's ready to win.
I enjoyed chatting with him too about, at what point does this hang over your head? And he said, I think it'll be later in my career. He said, I think, 45 if I still haven't done it. Now, Jack won at 46. Sure. Phil won at the PGA Championship at 50. And so it can be done. But he believes that it is his time. And that's a very powerful thing.
I agree. And belief matters. It can fuel you. But as we know, there are many folks that arrive at this place, and they tap into the same feeling that you and I are describing, only they're out there competing. Scotty's going to arrive for the rest of his life thinking, I could do it again. I know what it is. I've done it a couple of times. John Rahm, same thing. And then there's plenty of folks that have been close, that Justin Rose had an arm in the jacket and then wasn't his time. It was Sergio's time, So it's come Sunday, somebody will be a worthy champion. They'll be a forever player, because that's what this place does. They make you a forever player.
Speaking of worthy champions, great gentleman, Bernhard Langer.
Ah,
had a great chat with him yesterday.
Amazing.
How do you describe his legacy here?
Relentless, methodical, stubborn pursuit of excellence. And there's such a lesson in that. In knowing what you're great at, continuing to do the work that makes you great at the thing that you're great at, and not pursuing some other avenue to be great. Tiger's chased it. He's been great with a number of different coaches. And I would always ask him, why would you just wake up and do what you do, brother? What do you do? No, you got to get better every day. I'm like, not really. You just need to be you every day. But it was this need to find another way to be great, where it seems to me that Bernhard Langer, for decades, has done the same thing in the same way and created like this rut in the ground. You know what kind of discipline it takes to keep doing that long after you'd reach a point where you don't need to, but you just want to. Or maybe he does need to. I don't know. He could speak to that. I couldn't. I'm amazed at his ability to continue to be a consistent winner on the Champions Tour. And, I mean, if this ballpark weren't as big as it is, he's been a guy that's been a cut maker and on a page of the leaderboard, you're like, look at Langer. That's incredible. It's an amazing, amazing legacy, and he's been a great, great champion and such a gentleman. He's a stoic guy, yeah, but he, when you're with him, as you know, like it's a very, very easy smile and a wonderful guy just to say hello and show your respect to. I enjoy my time with Bernhard immensely.
It was so fun for me on Monday to expect that stoicism and get a gentleman who had tears in his eyes.
Really?
Sharing about the young boy from a small village in Germany who had a dream and was able to actualize that dream and represent his family in the way that he has. And I loved his line, there are things in this life that it's good to cry, it's okay to cry, and this is one of them. And
hey,
what
man,
just a fantastic thing to say.
believe me, there's times I've stood right in this spot and got in touch with some feeling that made me feel that some kind of way. Could be happy, could be sad. You don't have to Bernhard. I didn't imagine Bernhard to be the one that would have me nod my head saying, "Preach, Bernhard, I'm with you." But I completely agree with that.
So we'll let you run on this.
Okay.
If people are doing Masters Fantasy, okay, how would you advise them to put a team together?
I think past results here matter far more than current form. If you have the marriage of someone who's been playing well that shows up and has also played well here, well, then that's real simple, right? You just file that person away. But I would say Max Homa has been struggling this year. What did he finish? Third last year? I believe it was a T3. There's something about, as the old saying goes, just coming down Magnolia Lane. You come through those gates, and whoever you were when you drove up 20 or however you got here, you become the best version of yourself when you drive down this magnificent property. I think that result matters more. And I thought of and I went on with my guy Ryan Russillo on his pod, and I was remembering the great line about Wright Thompson, who is just the best there is.
Yeah, he's the greatest writer of our time.
He truly is. And also he has a voice that I read his book, The Barn, and I can only hear the words in his voice. But he talks about, like, the jacket and what it represents. And I'll say it as Wright did, like, he puts on a jacket and remembers who he was the best week of his life. And you're like,
pretty good. That was pretty good.
I do a pretty good Wright Thompson. But the idea of that, who you were however many years ago, and here you're that guy forever in that green jacket. And so for players that have done it, or for players that have been close but have, like a Justin Rose is a guy that I just always like his chances because he's played so much good golf here. I value that, Marty, more than I do someone that played well in Dallas or in San Antonio or even in the Florida events. Someone that's played well here. Let me take a flyer on that guy because there's something to it. Unlocking what it is to unlock the scores on that course.
I appreciate you. Thank you for your time, insight, friendship. You're the absolute best. And now we're going to sit here and have a crow's nest together.
My man. Appreciate you, Marty.
Always. Thank you. That is such a good man, someone from whom I've learned much and shared many tears about how deeply we think of our fathers here and how special those memories are. To his point during our conversation, we sure would love to know what our dads might think about the fact that their boys are familiar voices of the greatest event in golf, maybe the greatest event in all of sport. The No Laying Up podcast has grown into one of the premier content platforms in golf. Neil Schuster joins his buddies Soley, Tron, and Big Randy to detail the sport's biggest storylines and joined us to preview the 89th Masters. Thank you so much for your time.
Sure.
I know it's such a busy week and with so much content that needs to be produced. And congratulations to you and your buddies. You built an amazing business.
Yeah, thank you.
And we all really appreciate it. How do you describe what it's like to walk in here?
I was talking to KBV, one of my
Love
associates.
Him.
Yeah,
Former coworker.
Former coworker. That's right. And I've been here twice. Once my junior year of high school, came with my dad. Actually, it's funny. It was a Monday, and the national championship, men's basketball, was that night in Ohio State, Florida. Billy Donovan, Greg Oden, I remember that. So I went to the Masters, all-time day, then we drove straight to the Georgia Dome, went to the NCAA men's final. The feeling I get when I see that main scoreboard at the entrance is just nostalgia, and the way that the property it's vast on that view down, I guess, the trench on 1 and 9. It's just, it feels like that specific view has not changed for me, in a decade. And this, being here to cover the tournament is almost a full circle moment. I'm from Atlanta. It's always been a big deal. And then I went to school in New York City where, golf not quite as, was not as big of a part of my life. But I remember getting real homesick my first year in college, being up north and, kind of saying to myself, man, I took the Masters for granted. It was always kind of a thing in April. My family, we watched it every year, and it was the first time I watched it alone. And so it's great to be back, I guess, moral of the story.
How did it feel watching it alone? What did that tell you?
We put out a podcast about our favorite Masters, and that was in 2009, and that's the one I picked. I watched it alone on the 7th floor in Carman Hall on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, and it made me feel like lonely. But I remember I played football in college, and we had a spring practice. It happened to be the morning of Masters Sunday. And I went out into the 7th floor lounge, and I watched it alone. My roommate, who wasn't a golfer, was like, "What, are you going to watch golf all day?" I was like, "Yeah,
Yep.
I am." And it's like, don't just you can watch it with me, but just don't bother me if you're not into it. So I remember being very excited because Tiger and Phil were paired together that round. They didn't win. Angel Cabrera won, but it was but Kenny Perry. There was a lot of heartbreak. That's an underrated Masters just for the drama of the day. Everybody was excited about Tiger and Phil. They didn't get it done, but then you got this playoff at the end. And I remember being disappointed and lonely and homesick and all that stuff, but then being like, almost when you put the investment in to watch the whole broadcast, getting the payoff of that playoff was really fun.
This year's tournament is interesting.
Yes.
Because Rory's form is arguably the greatest of his career. It could be argued.
Yes.
This obviously hanging over his head to complete the Grand Slam, career slam. And then you have Scotty, who we all know will be there. A lot of people feel like it's a Rory-Scotty show. What do you and your guys think? I
would expand that out. I mean, I'm a big fan of Rory, and I, one of our kind of running bits or jokes is I run the Rory block party. Come on through, right? Like we're barbecuing. I've been picking Rory for the last 4 years to win the Masters. Keep getting my heart broken. He talked about scar tissue yesterday or today in his press conference, and I think fans of Rory feel that way too. But I find him both, relatable and unrelatable. Unrelatable in how talented he is and the way he hits the golf ball. I find it magnetic, but I find that he has these blemishes on his resume. And, like certain parts of his game that I find relatable. And to see him break through, Rory can be a little polarizing as well. And, I really like Rory, but I know that if he's in the hunt, it's like juice. Like that's going to get this place really going. You're going to have people, most people rooting for him, but some people, maybe not. And I think that's the drama that I'm looking for. But I would expand it out. I think it's not just Scotty and Rory for me. I think it's kind of the big guns. Sometimes it's like the big guns versus the field. I would throw Colin in that category. He's playing great golf, but there's some question marks about can he get it done? He's had trouble closing the last, 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, recently.
He
had
this season.
A tournament won.
And then Xander, the hottest player in the world at the end of last year, and then all of a sudden you get hurt and he's a little rusty. He's struggling with a rib injury. And then you have an up-and-comer like Ludwig, and that's like, fresh blood. Like all these guys are trying so hard to get it done, and then you throw maybe a generational talent into the mix. So I think it's going to be, kind of maybe an obvious take here, but I think it's going to be kind of a collision course of these big guns this week. That's what I anticipate. Now, that's what I'm hoping for, a shootout because we haven't seen all these guys other than the players. Where Xander didn't play great, Scotty was kind of so-so. That was the only tournament this year where Xander, Scotty, and Rory all played together just because of these injuries. And after last season, it was kind of undisputed that Scotty was the best, and then, Xander closed out, so it was kind of a two-horse race, and then now Rory's kicked the year off, and he's kind of the alpha. So it's interesting storylines at the kind of top of golf right now.
I'm also a bit intrigued by the live side of this.
Of course.
Because
throw another log on the fire, man.
Mr. Major, Brooks Koepka. You have Bryson, who prevailed at Pinehurst in dramatic fashion, and Rory didn't.
Sure.
Right? That's hanging over Rory
another heartbreaking moment.
And then you have John Rahm, who won this tournament a couple years ago. And I don't even know really. I know Bryson's playing well, but I don't know how well those other guys are playing. Yeah. Truly playing.
I know and I think with this schism we have in golf, the last 3 years, I think it's added to the buildup and the drama of. I think candidly, I think it's benefited the Masters specifically because it is the first look where you're like, oh man, we're finally going to get like everybody together for the first time. And then, there's just less of a break when you get to the PGA and the U.S. Open. So yeah, that's not only those top guys from LIV, but you got a guy like, Sergio's playing well. Phil Mickelson. He finished T2 2 years ago. And this is a place where, the older guys, they know the course, they can make a run. So, Dustin Johnson, I think he's kind of had a good week last week. We do so much content the week of the Masters. By Wednesday, you're talking yourself into, what about one of these amateurs? Maybe they could win, Right. So that's kind of the best part, though.
What have you learned with all of the content that you guys produce about the fan thought process about everything?
That's kind of part of our, mission statement, I'd say, is we kind of try to approach things from the fans' perspective. So a lot of it is, a lot of our content we do from home, watching, what we see on TV. And I think part of that's why Rory, I'm a fan of Rory's. I feel like he's not scared to say what he thinks. He's almost like, how I feel sometimes, working out his opinion in real time. Now, it's a little bit harder for him to do that because then, he changes his mind and it's like, well, wait, you said this 6 months ago. But, we all do that, right? I feel like I do that on podcasts where you kind of start to reflect on something. The longer you do, the more you start to see the other side of the argument. So I appreciate that. Sometimes I think fans want I think as fans, we say we want these guys to be passionate and authentic, but sometimes then they get punished for it.
No
and
doubt.
I think that's unfair. That is what I'm looking for. I know that's kind of been in the news lately with, some of the stuff Colin said after the players and saying, I kind of don't owe you guys anything. And he doesn't. I agree with that. But I feel like it doesn't have to be adversarial. Like they could be more available at times. I wish sometimes we could take the temperature down. They don't have to get quoted on everything or quoted out of context. But I do think from my standpoint, authenticity is our North Star. Like we don't want to make content that doesn't entertain or it's about stuff that we're not curious about. And I feel like I'm attracted to the players that, that I feel are authentic or say what they think. And I feel like Rory's one of those people.
No, without question. I have the great blessing of interviewing athletes from all over the sporting landscape. And I often say that he very well may be the most thoughtful.
Yeah.
He considers your question. He takes a moment to consider a thoughtful answer, and then he issues that with great honesty.
Yeah.
And in our world, that's the holy grail.
He doesn't. Yeah, he's not giving you canned responses. I feel the same way about Jordan Spieth.
Same.
I feel like they
agree.
They pause and they're like, okay, which puts pressure on me or whoever's asking the question. You want to ask a good question. It's like, I don't want to let him down. Like, because it's almost like he's putting energy into the question I asked him. I want to ask him a good one because I don't want him to waste his energy.
Yeah, I say that a lot for any aspiring young people out there who might want to get into this business. If you obviously have taken the time to prepare.
Yeah.
And the interview subject can tell that, they know instantly.
Yeah.
Especially professional athletes. They're going to reciprocate that effort.
Yeah.
If they can tell you're not prepared, they're going to reciprocate that effort or lack thereof. And that's why you work so hard to be ready. But speaking of being ready, if you go to the concession stand at Augusta National Golf Club during Masters Week, what are you bringing out of there?
Something I'm exploring this week because it's been a while. I'm a pimento cheese fan. Now, I've heard, some people are taking the chicken sandwich and they're combining it with the pimento cheese. That's a space I'm looking to explore this week. Never done it, but I'm interested. I'm looking at some literature on that one.
All right. Later this week on For Please Now Driving, you guys will hear from Aiden Hutchinson, the wonderful edge for the Detroit Lions, Heisman finalist for the Michigan Wolverines. When I chatted with him, I gave him the secret that it's half pimento, half egg salad.
Okay? Yeah.
He has since texted me and said, oh my God, that is a revelation.
I love that.
So you need to give that a ride.
Because I do feel like I'm a pimento cheese fan, but more as a spread. I feel like the pimento cheese on its own is missing some texture. The egg salad, that's interesting.
That gives you the texture.
Marty, I'll try that. But this chicken combo is interesting. And then I had a ham and cheese on rye today, and it was, it's solid. It might be the Mendoza line. It's just really solid. I'm not going to say it's anything better than that, but just very solid.
Okay, who is going to win the 2025 Masters?
Rory, 100%. Let's go. No hesitation. We're gonna manifest it. Now, we were talking earlier right here. If I cared enough, I should Costanza that, because I picked him for the last 3 years, so maybe I should not pick him. And
same here. I'm guilty too.
So he wins it because maybe I'm the bad juju.
Thank you for your time,
Yeah.
brother. We appreciate you so much.
Good to be with you, Marty. Thank you.
Coming up Wednesday here on Fore Please Now Driving, we'll break down the par 3 contest, one of the great traditions here at Augusta National during Masters Week, when players can take a break, have fun, and spend time with their families in that wonderful tradition. And the voice of golf on CBS, the voice of the Masters, Jim Nance, will join us to give us his thoughts ahead of the 89th edition. Thank you so much for joining us here on Fore Please Now Driving. We're so grateful to spend this time with you every single day. Have a great evening. I'm your host, Marty Smith.